Well, everyone at home, don't go anywhere because coming up on today's show, we are chatting with our favorite celebrity historian. Don't go anywhere. Well, you may know the Buffalo Soldiers as historical figures still famous in pop culture, but did you know that today is Buffalo Soldiers Day? Here to tell us more about who they really were and how their story connects us to here in North Dakota is celebrity historian Raffi Andonian. Good morning.
Good morning. How you doing? And you know what, a great place to talk about the Buffalo Soldiers because I'm a magnet here from North Dakota, and look, there's buffalo on there.
I love it. Yes,
Just perfect.
Yes, we are so happy to have you joining us via Zoom. I always love your segments, and I learned so much. So tell me, who were the Buffalo Soldiers?
It's so fitting, as I mentioned, here in North Dakota, and the reason that they got the Buffalo Soldier name to start kind of to explain who they are is because when their main early fighting was in the Plains Wars, also known in the past as the Indian Wars, and in those battles, American Indians who were fighting against the Buffalo Soldiers, who were African American, noticed, of course, darker skin and curlier hair, and they likened them to fighting like buffalo, which was a compliment, that they were fighting very strong. And they looked different than other American soldiers, who were mostly white American soldiers. Now, the way that the Buffalo Soldiers started out as a unit before they were known as the Buffalo Soldiers was shortly after the American Civil War. Remember, in the Civil War, you have obviously the end of slavery, and in the process of the end of slavery, you have about 200,000 black soldiers that volunteered to join the U.S. Army, which makes it the first time that at scale you have black soldiers in the U.S. Army. They were doing so to kind of prove their citizenship. But once the Civil War is over, those citizens go home. It was kind of people had signed up for certain terms, like most Civil War soldiers were civilians. However, after that, as their Plains Wars start to ramp up, the U.S. Army expands its regular troops, which is the professional soldiers, not the citizen soldiers, and they create several regiments of black soldiers who were the ones that became known later as the Buffalo Soldiers. So that's how they exist and then go on in battle to get their name from tribal people against whom they were fighting, because they were strong fighters and they looked different than the other American soldiers. Now, what's interesting about that is there's a very high level of dedication that you find amongst the Buffalo Soldiers, just like you did previously in the Civil War with the citizen soldiers. And there are some examples of that. For example, they had lower rates of desertion than white soldiers. And I think that is, again, part of it is trying to prove citizenship in an era when they're trying to get fuller civil rights and political rights. Other example of that is they have 30 Medals of Honor awarded to Buffalo Soldiers over the course of their action in the 1880s and the 1890s. Again, distinguished service. And one of my favorite stories is the story of William Cathay, who was someone that joined actually from St. Louis and then started to fight out west in various remote forts. And eventually, William Cathay ends up in the doctor's office, if you will, the Army's doctor's office, because having some sort of trouble. And they discovered that William Cathay was actually Kathy Williams. So she had disguised herself as William Cathay so she could participate in the Buffalo Soldiers units and to fight for her country. The only black woman at that time known to join the Army, because remember, they were not allowed to join the Army officially. So William Cathay, or Kathy Williams, actually found a way to join anyway. Now, here's a mind-blowing stat for you, all right? The last Buffalo Soldier to die was in 2005. At the age of 111, buried in Arlington National Cemetery. So they did have action all the way into the 1940s. In the 1940s, you have the end of the Buffalo Soldiers because Harry Truman, the president at the time, issued an executive order that integrated the U.S. military. And with integration, went away the segregated units of black and white, and that was the end of Buffalo Soldiers.
Oh my gosh. Okay. I learned so much from just that, especially the woman as in disguise as a soldier.
Yeah. That's some serious dedication, right?
Yes, absolutely. So we have about a minute left to chat with you, but I want to know especially, why did Bob Marley write a song about this? I feel like this is such a niche thing for him to write about.
A huge thing, because Bob Marley was known as a Rastafarian, right? And Rastafarians were known to embrace the notion of an African diaspora. And when you look at the lyrics, he talks about the Buffalo Soldiers in the heart of America, right? And so the idea is to show that these Buffalo Soldiers, Black American soldiers, showed the ultimate Americanness by fighting for the country despite having to deal with civil rights issues at home. So that was an example of Bob Marley promoting the larger Pan-African, African diaspora achievements across the globe. That's how Bob Marley sang that song. There's other things to it too, like Danny Glover was in a movie in the 1990s, Spike Lee did a film. So of course, major pop culture influence. And I just want to say real quick that, and there's a key tie to North Dakota. If you go to Fort Buford State Historic Site, you can actually see where many Buffalo Soldiers were stationed, which of course is near Williston, North Dakota. And I think there's a cool little, state local tie-in that you can go visit and check out. So it is still accessible today, not just through pop culture, but through actual sense of place traveling in the state of North Dakota.
This is amazing, and who knew? And what a special day to celebrate them, their dedication to our country.
That's right. This is when they were created. That's why today is Buffalo Soldier Day. So this is actually the day that Congress created them, and hence the name of Buffalo Soldier Day.
I love it. Well, it's always a pleasure to have you joining us via Zoom. If you at home want to check out more of Raffi's work, see, more interviews he did with us or other news outlets, or just check out some of his books, you can check him out at The Celebrity Historian on Facebook and Instagram. Thank you so much for joining us this morning.
Thank you.
Yes, we appreciate it. Always a pleasure. Well, everyone at home, stick around. We have more North Dakota Today coming right up for you after this short break.